Hello YouTube, Joseph Crickmore here, and I'm finally back and ready to make this Season 4 prediction video. And I need to preference up front that this is spoilers for anime onlys. This video is not for you. This video is for all the people like myself who are light novel readers, who have read a large majority of the series, or all of it, and talking about what are we going to see in Season 4? How far are they going to go? How much content are they going to adapt? And specifically, what moments? Now, for anyone that knows me, knows that my channel got its start with reaction content with slime. This series truly changed the way I look at storytelling. It changed my perspective on isekai, especially in terms of how the most ridiculous sounding titles the most ridiculous sounding titles, as well as perceptions of a series with the title, can change once you actually start watching the show. There was a time when I didn't give this series the time of day. There was a time when I didn't think I would ever like this series, especially with a title like That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. And as an avid video game nerd, I know full well that slimes are considered weak. And I know that's a meta thing that's brought up in the show itself, but I viewed the title with a level of skepticism because I wasn't convinced that a person reincarnated as a small little slime would actually be able to carry a whole franchise. Little did I know that once I started giving it a chance, already 5 years ago? It was already 5 years ago. Wow. And by the time I started watching it, the second half of season 2 was already airing. So I had managed to catch up to it as it aired. So I got to be around for those final 13 or 12 Slime season 2 episodes as they aired. And as soon as the season finished, I went right to Amazon and I bought the books. All the way up through when they were out, because some novels at the time weren't fully out yet. But as they came out, I got them. I got 14, then I got 15, I got 16, and then I got 17. I haven't gotten any of the later ones yet. I don't have 18, but the point I'm trying to make is this franchise truly changed my perspective of anime. So that's why I'm making this video. This video has been a long time coming because I had planned to make a season 3 video when I had read volumes 7 through 9, but so much happened in between, and then season 3 came out, and so the time to make a prediction video was over, so I had to scrap that entire video script, which is kind of unfortunate in hindsight. So that's why I'm doing this one now. I wrapped up the Undead Unluck video 2 weeks ago. This is the second biggest project that I still was working on. And I want to wrap this one up. I want to do it. I want to package it before Season 4 comes out. So that way we can say on the record, this is here. Without further ado, with that long intro out of the way, let's get right to what we're talking about. Season 4. And it's going to contain 10, 11, and 12. And for a lot of people, they think that just 10 and 11 is enough content for 24 episodes. I'd say you're mistaken. You got to remember pacing, people. But we'll get into that as we go. Volume 10 contains the conclusion of what last season was building up, okay? Remember that episode in season 3 with Cerberus, the Razos, which I reacted to it, and I was so happy that they were bothering to set it up so early, because the novels didn't do that, but we finally get all this payoff. So, like I mentioned, this is a spoiler-heavy video because I'm going over literal plot points of these volumes about what needs to be adapted in Season 4, what needs to have a lot of time dedicated to it, maybe to flesh out some backstory, some lore, maybe pull from later if you want to give proper context or whatever. So for the rest of this video, I'm diving into some major stuff. So this is your last chance to click away if you want to click away. Everyone else still here? Good. This volume contains some stuff that goes down, such as Diablo making it known to Rimuru that he wants to recruit a demon army. Yes, you know. Get him out of the way for an entire book, and then have him return with an even stronger force. And then Rimuru gets invited to join the Council of the West, which he does end up joining by the end of the book. But not after some Razo shenanigans, you know. But the council stuff was a direct consequence to the merchants from last season and the whole like trying to undermine Rimuru's authority and image, with her trying to sabotage Rimuru with the merchants and her ability of avarice. So yeah, Maribel Razo, this is her big moment. She didn't just have her one episode in Season 3. She showed up in the Season 3 opening. The second opening. Which is meant to showcase that she was there during the Founding Festival. And what she does in this volume is a direct result of her viewing Tempest. And, you know, she's kind of wrapped up with Yuki as well. Nothing. You know, it's a lot of tiny things until you remember what else Volume 10 has. Like, for example, the formation of the Labyrinth team comprising of Rimuru, Veldora, Malim, and Ramirez. For anyone that wants to make an argument against me that is not crucial enough for the season, I call bullshit. Slime, as a novel, knows how to balance the quirky, funny stuff that's kind of just there because it's cool and funny with the actual badass and serious stuff. Like the reveal of Apito and Zijin's humanoid forms. Their evolution. Please finally be in the anime. Anyone that was following my Season 3 reactions knows full well I stan Apito and Zijin. So, they need to get their proper introduction in Season 4. They have to. They're becoming major players. They are, like, the center of some of the best moments coming up. Maybe not in Season 4 either, but you can't ignore their existence forever. Especially if Season 4 also has another certain thing in it. And, you know, the exploration of ruins in Clayman's old territory, you know. The Yuki Maribel fight, where everyone finally gets to see Yuki's fighting ability, and he's actually kind of a terrifying opponent. He's kind of a badass, but also very scary. With that ace up his sleeve. It's not even an ace up his sleeve. It's even stated in the novels itself that Yuki doesn't see it as something that should be kept a secret, but it really is a terrifying skill. So I hope they do that fight justice, even if it's only like 2 minutes. So, pacing-wise, Volume 10 can be like 4, 5, maybe 6 episodes? I'm going off of the assumption that this is a 24-episode season. But, like, this is the one volume of the 3 that can really have, like, the bare minimum and would still be fine. Because there's not a lot in Volume 10 that you could cut that would be, like, what's the term I'm looking for? Volume 10 is that volume where you can cut out a decent chunk of it and you wouldn't be losing anything. you know? Whereas with other volumes, with the way they handled season 1, it was a shit show. It was terrible. But 10 is the one that I think will have the least amount of episodes covering it, because it's mostly just wrap-ups from the previous season while subtly building up the next step of the story. Which leads us to volume 11. 11. The volume that is the one that they need to adapt carefully. This is a volume that is very tough to gauge, because on the one hand, you could end a season right here, because this volume is loaded with stuff that is kind of crucial. Even regarding a certain time-traveling plot that's already kind of confusing to read, let alone the lore behind Leon and Chloe, that's also something that's very confusing, especially when you try to lay it out. And the words on the page don't do that justice. I'm not sure if the manga is at this yet, so I'm very cautiously optimistic about how you could visually portray this entire storyline. But this is the volume they need to put a lot of effort into. But don't necessarily be like season 3. I'm in the minority camp that loved season 3. But that goes to show you, I'm a novel reader, not an anime only. And even if I was an anime only going into season 3, I would still enjoy it because of what slime is. For all the people that talk down to season 3, don't realize what the true storytelling of slime is. It's not an action show. It's not a series where you get a fight every couple episodes. The reason it was like that in the beginning was because Rimuru was still just a small-time slime, building up his resources, slowly amassing what amounted to be a country, becoming its leader halfway through the first season, becoming a demon lord. It called for action. It called for him to be serious. It tested his resolve. He had to have those moments. And then once you do all that, season 3 is the time when it's supposed to die down. When enough people hear your name and they're not stupid to do anything. Okay? It all dies down. People are starting to be more methodical and careful about how they handle Rimuru, etc. And apparently people found season 3 boring. I didn't find it boring. I also knew going into the season that I'm sure a lot of people were going to be angry about it and finding it mid or terrible, or that this was a bad season. I kind of knew going into that. So this is where you have to be careful, because this volume is loaded with stuff, but also a really good fights. Yeah, that's right. Multiple fights happen in this volume. You have Granbell Razzo versus Luminous. Leon Cromwell returns to the story. Rimuru fighting alongside Leon. Having to calm down a rogue masked hero. And, 11 is loaded with fight stuff as well. Shion versus Razul. But 11 also has stuff like Diablo returning with his own army, becoming something that's, I don't know, the Black Numbers? Kind of a big deal. The Chloe situation comes to a head, of course, but it also contains Ifrit coming out, finally, and gaining his new body and name, Karis. Karis, don't know how to say that. Rimuru appointing Testarossa to be his representative on the council, and she single-handedly stops an insurrection in Ingracia. Malim reunites with her old dragon friend, who is now Gaia. I mean, that's like a tiny thing at the beginning of the volume. That may as well just be a part of the previous volume in terms for how they could adapt it. It could just be in the same episode. That makes for a better end to an episode if Gaia hatching is in the same episode as Malim destroying the Chaos Dragon. And, this is also Granbel Razzo's last stand. And, by describing all of this, and this is most of the important stuff, this volume will take up the most amount of time. I'm predicting right now this volume will take like 12 episodes. Because you're jumping across multiple perspectives. You have to introduce Leon's country of El Dorado. You have to do all of the explanation for the hero and the time traveling and all that nonsense. You do Testarossa stuff with the council because stopping the insurrection is also a part of all the chaos that's brewing because of Granbel Razzo. You do that fight justice. You do all the Razzo stuff and their involvement in the story and make way for the calm before the storm that is Volume 12. Speaking of Volume 12, this is the one where people make the argument shouldn't be in Season 4 because of how big 10 and 11 are, like I just said. Guy visits Tempest and Rimuru ends up hosting a pseudo-Walpurgis. It's funny how many Demon Lords are in Tempest at that point in time that it may as well be Walpurgis. Because it should also be known that Dino is in Tempest at this point as well. Let me explain. Rimuru's a Demon Lord, right? In Tempest. His turf. Who shows up? Luminous? Leon? Guy? Dino is already there. And Ramirez is already there. The only Demon Lords that don't show up to this Walpurgis, basically, is Malim and Dagrel. Although maybe I'm forgetting if Malim was there or not, so it's like, it basically is a pseudo-Walpurgis. Also, Rimuru finally learns of the 4 primordials in his service and how naming them has disrupted the balance of power. I love Guy's line in the book. He's like, I maintained this steady balance of power for thousands of years, and you upset that balance almost instantaneously. But to Rimuru's defense, nobody told him in advance who the primordials were. They just showed up one day. And from his perspective, he didn't think of them as very important figures. Guy had to be the one to point it out himself. And Leon. And Luminous. So that makes Rimuru, like, I love that reaction in the books where he's like, has this shocked look on his face. And he's like, what was I supposed to do? No one told me. And then, of course, Guy has to leave it alone because you can't undo it. And he's also there to deal with Chloe. Because I'm pretty sure she's now a true hero because of the hero's egg, or is that Hinata? Am I remembering that wrong? I don't know. It's been a while since I read these books. But Leon also reconciles with Rimuru because his entire goal was looking for Chloe. In Leon's perspective, the ends justify the means, and he did genuinely help Rimuru in the previous volume. And because Rimuru gained the 4 primordials that are Diablo, Ultima, Carrera, and Testarossa, Leon is kind of backed into a corner where he's like, I don't want to fight you. You have amassed this much power. I will say my piece, and then let's move on as allies. Which Rimuru does take in stride. Remember, he's an easygoing guy. And to be fair, like, Chloe also finally, like, remembers Leon and goes, Rimuru, please. And other stuff. But, this might be the volume that's, like, the end of the season. I could see it being, like, another 6 or 7 episodes. This is the one that people also argue. I already mentioned that, yeah. This is the volume people argue won't be in the season at all because of how big 10 and 11 are, or because of how crucial the rest of this volume ends up being for an entire giant arc after. What do I mean? Well, the Eastern Empire prepare for their invasion of the West by declaring war on Tempest. Because they finally see that the Council of the West has been invaded by Tempest with their new member Testarossa. They also think they finally have the technology to subdue Veldora and a bunch of other things. But then Gadara shows up, who's Rosin's old master, and Adelman's friend. And because of the fact that Adelman is quote-unquote alive, he defects to Tempest. Simply because, he didn't know that Adelman was still around and that he thought he had died and he wasn't stuck as an undead. And he was plotting against the West simply because they took his friend. But because Adelman is around and undead and he works for Rimuru, Gadara was immediately like, okay, my best friend is still around and is working for this guy. I don't have any more motive to attack the West anymore. And then, of course, the introduction of some Empire generals, with Yuki being one. There's another crucial moment of Volume 12 that would be the most brutal cliffhanger ever for a season. Because trust me, it was the most brutal cliffhanger on a volume I've ever read. You know the moment I'm talking about. A certain condo. A certain moment with him and Gadara. Yeah. That was a brutal cliffhanger. But in any case, all that I've brought up so far is moments that need to be adapted well in Season 4. They have to be given proper time, proper showcasing, maybe even good visuals to illustrate things that may be hard to understand, like half of Volume 11. And, the 10 dungeon marvels as well. This is a thing that becomes official come Volume 12. Giving them a title. So this will be fun. They need to dedicate time to the labyrinth. They did a lot in Season 3, but that's because they kept a lot of the stuff from the novels. They need to keep doing that. The labyrinth is the labyrinth is a mainstay in the series moving forward. They need to keep focusing on it. Give it time. Give it its proper justice, okay? Now then, should Volume 12 be in Season 4? I've made this known throughout the video that people have given me responses back that it should not be in the season. So let's go over why it should and why it shouldn't. We'll go over the pros and the cons. The pros and the cons. Yes, Volume 12 should be in Season 4. It's a perfect fit for a full 3-volume adaptation. It closes the arc cleanly because the Western nations, the Council, wraps up Maribel, Yuki, fully transitions to the Eastern Empire. Feels like a satisfying endpoint, and it is the perfect launch pad for a Season 5. As I put it, Season 4 is the Shadow War, and Season 5 is the Empire War. It's a good way to phrase it if I do say so myself. But if I had to be a contrarian, why Volume 12 could be held off for Season 5? It's a tonal shift. Introduces darker and colder developments. Yeah, it really does, doesn't it, when you think about it? Assassination, betrayal, Imperial war plans. My goodness. Yes. The potential for expanded adaptation. I guess. When you think about it, yeah. It's not just a one-to-one to the books. As long as they can elevate the content with maybe some needed expansion. Yeah. I never looked at it that way before, but But then again, if you put 12 in season 5, you're then interrupting like the tipping point of the war by not doing volume 15. Even though the battle changes to something else by volume 16. So this is definitely a conversation starter in the comments down below. So comment below your thoughts on this debate, whether or not volume 12 should be in this season or next season. Season 5 territory, meanwhile, is volumes 13 to 16. The future prospects will contain these volumes. Why? Well, it's because of a certain Eastern Empire invasion. There's a lot of different sections to this invasion. There's a lot of different points that get a lot of focus. It's very important to mention that you can't end a next season anywhere else. You know? You really can't. Especially when you have the points of the Empire invading the Labyrinth, or Rimuru sending out his soldiers to fight on the front lines, and then the primordial demon trio kind of just have their overkill moment. And it's very enjoyable to read. Very enjoyable to read. Especially for Ultima and Testarossa. Man, those two got great moments in this war. To then Veldora's capture and the betrayal of comrades all the way to the end of the war, and then the beginning of a different battle. Okay? This is where we go, and it should be known that that is basically it for this video. Thank you all for taking this journey with me of just going over the books again. Maybe this reignited your passion for reading them again. If you wanted to go back and enjoy those moments, they will be the next things to get animated. Comment below on any moments you want animated that I didn't touch on. This is supposed to be as broad of a summary as possible, because even I know that there are moments that I left out from talking about. Like, I left out Shinji and his crew that Gatara sends. I left out the stuff with more of the labyrinth building with Veldora. I left out the intricate planning that Rimuru does to reverse psychology the Empire into attacking the labyrinth. I left out a bunch because I wanted to get this video out before the season came out, because I failed it already. I failed to make a video for season 3. So I'm doing this video now just so that it's out there in the world. And then when we finally get to season 4, we'll flash back to this video talking about, was I right? Did I predict it wrong? Did stuff change? Whatever. So thank you all so much for watching. Hope you liked it. Hit the like button, subscribe, share the video with a friend. Let it be known that the other guys are coming back to the channel. Reactions will return in the near future. I'll be putting up a post on my community tab for the Switch 2. If people have any specific requests they want me to do when I unbox the Switch 2, because that's coming up this coming week. Gaming stuff will be the day of the Switch 2. Can't promise anything on the live read-throughs, but the next arc of Solo Leveling will be up next, as well as reading through the beginning of Rooster Fighter, because that one won the poll. I'll probably do one more live poll for mangas to read through. And until then, I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.